Hey guys, we are so excited to be here with you today. We realize that we have been absent for the past couple months, maybe, give or take a few days. But we have had some really exciting things going on in our lives, and we needed to kind of step back for a little bit. Starting out with, we had told you about our big trip to New Zealand. So we were gone for about 3.5 weeks there, and then we got back. School was gearing up to start again. We snapped our fingers, and here we are, October 2nd, which is crazy to say. But
Yep. So basically, our trip to New Zealand got us a couple weeks behind, and now we're moving and stuff, and so life has hit pretty hard. And so this has unfortunately not been a priority, but we are back on, and we're finally caught up with everything, and we're ready to get into this episode. And today we're going to be talking about the trip, and not only the stuff that we did during the trip, but what the trip itself meant to us. So let's get into it. Welcome to Life Starts Now, a show where we commit to being transparent about the transition into adulthood and all the challenging yet exciting aspects that it brings. My name is Cole Netton, joined with my wife Kate Netton, and we're best known for being just like you. Graduated college with debt, bought a car, and had no idea what to do next. Through our commitment to God's purpose, we are currently debt-free entrepreneurs, each building our own businesses, and we want to share with you our principles, our fears, our failures, and our small successes along the way. Welcome to our show. All right, so let's talk about our trip to New Zealand. I'm pretty sure we mentioned in a couple episodes ago, talking about being debt-free. We kind of use this trip as a reward to us for becoming debt-free. So we didn't really know if we were going to actually make the trip or not. It was a pretty big incentive. So we had to, if we weren't debt-free by the time we were going to leave for the trip, which we set a date, then we weren't going to go. And so not only did we have to become debt-free before we left for the trip, but we had to save up for the trip a couple months before, 3 to 4 months before the trip actually happened, because, of course, New Zealand is on our bucket list, and it's not the cheapest flight down there.
or when you get there.
Or when you get there, exactly. Kind of isolated. So it was definitely a good reward for us. So that's exactly what we kind of used it as, was a reward. And so what was really cool about this trip is that it was kind of our first celebration of becoming debt-free. A thing that we've worked for really hard in the past, well, now it's the past a little over a year, but it took us 11 months to become debt-free. And we went really hard just so we could get this vacation or celebration to work out for us. So
Yeah, and going along those lines, we wanted to celebrate the fact that we were taking a trip without getting into more debt. I feel like thousands and millions of Americans go on a vacation and they use a credit card and they go into debt and they come home with this hole in their credit card. And that was also a celebration of, we're taking this trip because we can afford to take this trip, because we've saved up all the money up front. We weren't going to use a credit card to pay for it, and so that kind of tied into that celebration too.
Yep, definitely. And so another thing that makes this trip special is that for us, it was really about trusting in God's plan for us. When we told ourselves that, okay, this is the date that we have available to go on this trip. My wife's a teacher, so she had the summers off, and I was able to put aside a couple dates where I didn't need to accept anything work-wise. When we put that date down, it didn't seem like it was possible, honestly. It was pretty quick.
Seemed unrealistic.
It seemed very unrealistic, but at the same time, we knew that we had a lot of drive, and we knew that by doing what we were doing, getting debt-free, that God was going to bless us with something this trip. So there was... Go ahead.
A year ago, I know it was in October, So like a year ago from now is when we decided, hey, let's set aside these dates in the summer and not book these dates with anything in case we're out of debt and in case we can save up for this trip, because that'd be pretty cool. So we were at a point in our getting out of debt journey that we were both frustrated. We were both like losing momentum. We were feeling defeated, and like the numbers were not coming down very quickly or as quickly as we had hoped. And so we were both like, okay, what can we do to like regain that momentum? And this trip, with my work schedule and having summers free, which is a huge blessing, but that means that there's not much time to take off during the year. And so we knew we had to go in the summer. And we were both like, gosh, it would kind of stink to have to wait a whole nother year if we couldn't make this goal. So that kind of lit a fire under us even more.
Yeah, definitely, especially it being my dream place ever since I picked up a camera. And not only that, not only getting debt free, but I had to of course get a new camera before we left for our trip, because I wanted to come home with some pretty high quality photos. And Sony had just released a camera that was on my list for the trip, and so we were able to get that too. So what seemed like impossible was possible, and it was awesome. So that's why, again, why the trip was a little special for us.
Yeah.
And another thing, we're just going to talk about how special it was, is us.
It just meant a lot more to us than just taking a vacation, and it represented so many things in our lives. So that's kind of what we're sharing with you right now, is how was this more than just another trip that people take.
Right. And it kind of solidified the fact that we were actually doers. If you know me, I do talk quite a lot, and a lot of the time I don't follow through with some of the stuff I talk about. But the great thing with this was we didn't even know that we were going to make the trip. And I told absolutely everybody I knew that we were going to go on a trip to New Zealand. And it was great because we actually went on the trip. It helped motivate me by telling a lot of people, because then I would have felt like an idiot if I told everybody that we were going to be gone for a month and then I was here. So that was really cool.
So many people just like say, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to start a business, we want to travel the world or go across the country, and then 10 years or 20 years and they have kids, and then just life gets in the way. And so if you don't take the time and make it a priority, it's not going to happen. And so we have decided since day one of our marriage, basically, we were going to get out of debt. We did that. And then from then on, we want to prioritize the things that we say we're going to do. And instead of just dreaming about them, we wanted to do them. And so we made that happen. Obviously, with God's grace, we made that happen. And so that was another thing, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And we could afford the trip without going into debt was a big thing for us. Again, that was our motivation. But traveling itself doesn't have to be expensive. When you watch people go on trips all the time, and think, man, they must have a lot of money. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how smart you are with your money. Mm-hmm. With some people who are buying the brand new iPhone every time it comes out, or buying a bunch of new clothes, it's all about prioritizing what you need and what's at the top of your priority list. And for us, being 24 years old, traveling is something that we really want to do, and we want to experience different places. And for me, as a photographer and videographer, I love capturing those places as well. So
yeah, we're not waiting for retirement to do some of these things, because no one's even promised tomorrow. And so
yeah, I barely have enough energy as it is, let alone when I'm retired. There's no way I'm going to be able to hike up a mountain.
That's true.
So I mean, yeah, so it doesn't have to be expensive. You just have to be smart with where you're spending your money. And again, we have a travel fund that we take money every month and put aside in one of our little Capital 360 accounts. It's a free account you can open. And And then from there, if, we're feeling down, needing a refreshment, got some time, we can look into that and say, hey, how much do we have there? Where can we go? And what can we experience together as a married couple? So that's big. Yeah. Yep. And then I've mentioned this before, but New Zealand was a dream of mine ever since I picked up a camera. So that was kind of the reason we chose the place, was all because of me. So I know it was kind of somewhere Kate wanted to go to, but
yeah, he had filtered that idea in my head since like high school. So by the time we actually got to a point in our lives where we could do it, I had pretty much the same dream.
Yeah,
You've been showing me pictures of that place forever.
Right, exactly. I follow a lot of people who post things on New Zealand, and I've never seen a place like it, and it did not disappoint.
No. So, how was the trip? We wanted to just kind of talk about some of the highlights, some of the things that happened. It started out a little rough, so we were there for a little over 3 weeks. It came down to be that first week was definitely a lot of getting adjusted. We had some bad weather. The time difference made us really tired. I think, what is the time difference? Like 16 hours?
Yeah, it's
something.
Yeah, it's about
something like that.
Yeah,
16 hours difference ahead of where we currently live. So
right. So like 12 here would be
4 o'clock the next day.
Yeah, 4 o'clock the next day.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. 12 noon here would be 4 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, so that was an adjustment. In fact, the first night that we got there, we it started, okay, so keeping in mind it actually is winter there during our summers. And even though the winter isn't like what the winter is here in Iowa, it was definitely like the sun wouldn't rise until 7:30 in the morning, and the sun would go down by like 5:30. So our first night there, we just came from summer, meaning it was light out till 9 p.m. It gets dark, and we're both like, all right, well, it must be time for bed. And then we look at our clock, and it's like 5:30.
Yeah, so we had to crunch a lot of stuff in the little daylight that we had. But I know you're probably thinking that, oh, wow, a trip to New Zealand, like that must have been just perfect. Everything went well, and it definitely didn't. I had a couple of rough spots personally myself, and I was getting pretty frustrated in the first 5-6 days. One, because there was a lot of places I wanted to visit. Couple mountains that we climbed that I could not get any pictures of, views of, because of the weather. Bad weather, raining, couldn't really take my gear, things like that. And was it the first mountain we climbed?
It was
the first mountain we climbed on day 4. And so we're up there at the top. We saw some people coming down the mountain. They're like, yeah, the view's great up there. I'm getting so excited.
We were like, we had been hiking for over 2 hours at this point, and I think we had less than 30 minutes left to the top.
Yeah. And so people were coming down, oh, great view, blah, blah. We're trying to beat this storm. So the second we get up there, we're in the middle of a cloud. I mean, it looks like fog everywhere, white everywhere.
Which is cool at first, It's cool to be inside a cloud. I don't think I've experienced that before, but when you realize...
you can't see anywhere 10 feet in front of you. And so I'm like, oh, there goes my view of the city and things like that. And then the second we're up there, it starts to hail on us. So we're stuck in the middle of a cloud on a mountain, and it's hailing, and I mean, I thought we were going to die. I figured, oh, great, a lightning strike is going to come straight from the cloud we're on. This was stupid. We went really fast. We thought it wasn't going to be an easy climb. Easy climbs down there are not easy climbs, just to let you know. So took us a while. I was exhausted, and we're getting hailed on. So we're freaking out, running down the mountain, and saw this crazy guy just running up in shorts and a t-shirt, and it's hailing and it's freezing, and we're like, okay, well, if this guy is coming up here, we should be fine. So
it made us feel better,
but I couldn't get my view, bad weather. So we're on our way down. This is the part that really killed me. This was just wanted to sit down and just cry. So
which I think you may have done a little.
Which I may have done. Anyway, on our way down, there's this perfect tree stump, just flat as can be, very round, great little spot for me to take off my drone. Right?
Okay, perspective a little. The weather changes like instantly there. So although it was hailing on us 30 minutes prior, now it's bright and sunny.
Yeah. So we climbed down, got below the cloud we were in, and then it seemed decent, fine. So I'm like, oh, great. I'll get some sweet footage of this mountain from my drone, and we'll go from there. So I took it off on the stump. Perfect. Went up in the air, felt it out a little bit. Great. Started doing this like pano around the mountain. Right. And so I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, this is some great footage, looking good. And so I try and bring it home, and I'm flying it towards me, but the drone is going the opposite way. So basically what happened was the wind was way too strong, and my drone could not handle the wind and was being pushed away from me until I lost signal, and it just crashed in the middle of a mountain, in the middle of nowhere, off a path, nowhere to be found, lost GPS signal, anything. Mm-hmm. So not only was that bad, but it wasn't even my drone. I borrowed it from a good buddy of mine. Thanks, Danny. I hope you enjoy the new drone that I had to buy you. So that was rough. That was about a $1,200 setback, which really, really sucked. So my attitude was terrible. I was slipping down the mountain. She thought it was hilarious.
He was falling.
I fell
almost every other step, I swear.
And I cut my back on a twig, and I was bleeding, and I was falling, and I lost my drone, and it was just terrible. Just terrible.
Mud covered everywhere.
Mud covered everywhere, yeah. So I'm just soaked, almost in tears. Lost my drone, $1,200 setback. I'm getting hurt, all that kind of thing. So, it's tough to talk about. But
oh my gosh.
That was really, really tough for me. So that was our first 4 days in New Zealand. Probably not a good 4 days for me. Not a good 4 days. So after that, I had to definitely change my attitude. We were able to luckily find another drone at a camera store in one of the big cities. Got the last one from a store. My goodness.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to find there. We called like 10 different places. We're like, do you have this drone? We really need it.
Yeah. So I had to change my attitude real quick after that, because I was at a pretty low point from that mountain. But it ended up working out, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, well, now that we kind of talked about some of the negatives that we started off with the trip, let's talk about some of the positives and why for us it was the best trip we've ever taken. And probably, I don't know, that's a pretty high expectation.
I know, we were kind of talking, we're like, we really set the bar high here.
It might be one of the best trips we have and will ever take. So, highlights of the trip. North Island. We started at the North Island, took a van, drove all the way through the North Island, and then all the way through the South Island. Just kind of went rogue with it and just sat. There was a minivan, pulled out into a bed, slept there for about half the trip. Yeah. So North Island, there was some sweet hot springs, natural hot springs, like the earth was keeping them warm, and we got to sit in it. It was weird, but
super cool.
Yeah, and it was a sulfur spa, so all of our clothes that we wore after we got still smell like sulfur.
Yeah. So the sulfur in their water was so strong. Definitely, like, still sometimes on a couple of items that I wore, like, a lot there or that got wet in hot springs, like, still smell like sulfur today.
Yeah.
I wore something earlier today that I still kind of smelled a little bit in.
Yep.
And I've washed it numerous times, so I don't know. I do have a heightened sense of smell, I will say.
Yeah, it's weird, but... Anyway, some of the other sweet places we saw in North Island was we visited a glacier. We got a hike up. It was
that was on South Island.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. That was South Island. Okay, North Island. We didn't spend much time. That was South Island. My bad. So the first week we kind of
We did only 6 days or so in the North
Yeah,
Island.
we did 1 week North Island, 2 weeks South Island because of more of the scenery stuff South Island.
Yeah.
So we went to a couple cities. Wellington was sweet. Little city, a port city down on the edge of the North Island. Lake Tahoe. Was it Tahoe?
Oh gosh.
Tekapo?
Tekapo.
Tekapo was a sweet place.
That was really
Nice
cool.
little town. The food there in New Zealand was amazing.
Yeah.
Really good. Really high quality. They put cream cheese on all their pizzas, or most of their pizzas you can order in places.
With cream cheese.
And it was so good. The fact that I haven't done that here is just incredible to myself as a pizza lover.
Yeah, Cole ordered pizza like probably 10 of the 20 days that we were there.
Probably
I'm not
half
kidding.
the time.
At least half.
At least half the time.
And
Yep.
then at first when we were getting adjusted, because the food is like similar to US, but at the same time, like when we were in McDonald's, I think I ordered that first night, and I got it, and it was just so weird.
Yeah, they've got higher quality McDonald's stuff,
Yeah.
as in better than McDouble, or it was a little more fancier. Not like the greatest meat, but they had, I don't know, like a mushroom Swiss something, and it was just a little bit more fancier than what you'd find here.
Yeah,
If
we
that
found
makes
ourselves, especially on the North Island where it's more populated, going to McDonald's a lot or fast food
sense.
because
All the time.
it was fast,
It was cheaper.
cheap, you could still get some quality food, and it
Yeah.
was familiar, and we kind
Exactly.
of liked that.
Yep.
So we went to like Wendy's and McDonald's a few times that first week just because we wanted that.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite parts was we were there for I think 3 Sundays, and we tried a new church each Sunday, and that was super fun to just be across the world like worshiping the same God that we believe in and trust, and that was really cool to just see other people with that strong faith and
Yeah.
get to do that their way, and people were so welcoming and so nice. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see. Each church we went to was really different too.
Yeah.
So it was
Very
cool
different.
to see the different ways that they worshipped and stuff.
And the first church, so they didn't do this every Sunday. This was like a special Sunday, but they were actually streaming a service. Not streaming. They were playing. They were doing a sermon on giving, and the pastor was like, "I just was really touched by this sermon, and it spoke so much light into my life, and I had to share it with you guys, and I knew that I just couldn't do it as well as this guy did." And we're like, "Okay, cool. Like, we want to learn about giving. This is exciting." And he turns it on, and it's this pastor that I know I've seen on numerous occasions, and he's from Texas. So they were streaming a church service from Texas. So that was kind of funny. We're like,
It was funny. It was funny, but it was a really
home.
good. Yeah, it was a really
Not
good
really,
sermon
but-
on giving. But
Yeah.
yep, that was sweet.
What else? Oh, so he mentioned that we stayed in the van for like half the time, 7 to 10 days, and then our initial plan was to stay in that van and keep going, sleeping in the van. But it did get old. I'll be honest about that. It got old after 7 to 10 days, and we were ready for like a more homey environment. And by we, it's probably me for the most part.
For the most part, yeah, it was a very small van, and you had to like turn the seats around, and when it was bedtime, it was bedtime. It wasn't like a
Hang out.
like a motor home van where you could drive in the front seat but then go to the back and walk around and
You
stuff.
couldn't stand up.
Couldn't stand up. So once it turned dark, it was we didn't really have any other option than to just hang out in our van or outside, and it was cold outside. So
And the ground is very saturated there in the winter just because of all the moisture that they get, and so it got to be difficult with trying to keep mud out of the van, and logistically things like that started to become difficult. So we just decided up front, like, hey, let's put in a little more money than we thought we were going to, and let's get some Airbnbs so that we can be comfortable. And that turned out to be a huge blessing because we got to meet some super cool people that hosted us in their Airbnbs. We had some of the most amazing views. Because it was winter, they weren't that expensive. You could find a solid Airbnb for like $60 New Zealand dollars. No, that was U.S.
No, it would
Airbnb did
translate
U.S.
it,
Yeah. So it was definitely a good route to go, even though it was not planned initially.
Yeah. And so another thing about the people there was it's my kind of country because they're the most laid back, just chill people you'll ever meet. Don't really, not that they don't care about anything, but they're just like, there's no worry in the world. Driving is fine. They're crazy drivers down there, but nobody really seems to care. Nobody really gets mad at each other for driving bad or anything like that. And I just felt at home, and it was just great as far as the people go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was sweet. That was most of North Island.
Yeah.
And then so we took a ferry down to the South Island, and this is where I was getting excited because I'm like, yeah, South Island, this is supposed to be the most beautiful place on earth. Lots of places we get to visit. The things I was most excited for were coming up. And so some of the places we visited on the South Island were, we drove down the West Coast. Yeah, West Coast. And visited a couple of places like the Pancake Rocks, and we hiked up to a glacier, which was really cool and interesting and science provoking, as far as we got to see how big the glacier was back in 1977 and how fast it melts, and which was
Quick.
very quick and alarming. So it was kind of cool. We got to see that.
Continuing down that coast, we had one of our like most major hikes that we did, and that one that like takes pretty much all day, like 6-7 hours, and it was pretty nice out this day, but the hike was we just did not go in thinking it was going to be that hard, which I think made it 10 times harder than what it would have been if we were just expecting that. But I love a good challenge, and so I was stoked. I was having fun. Like, the burn felt good. Cole may have had another opinion.
Absolutely terrible. So we looked up online, and it said Easy Track. So we're like, oh, great, Easy Track. It was about a 6-hour hike, right?
Yeah, it was like 13 miles.
So I'm thinking to myself, great, Easy Track. Most of it should be walking on level ground, maybe a couple inclines there. So we get to the place, and it's about a 45-degree angle up almost the entire mountain. Oh, yeah. And so I was...
like 6 miles.
I was absolutely dying. It was terrible. And my favorite part of that climb was I was walking. I was basically on autopilot because my body was just so tired. And my shoes were bad. I was wearing Converse. Not a good idea. But I walked past this guy who was going just about as slow as me. And we said hi. I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, honestly, it's going terrible. And I'm like, thank goodness that I'm not the only one who is absolutely struggling up this mountain. I said, you are preaching to the choir, my dude, because I am not feeling good either.
This guy did just look terrible.
He looked terrible. He was dragging, looked like a zombie. And I was like, I moved past him at like half a mile an hour, so I wasn't going too much faster than this guy. But
yeah, we did meet another couple, though, like shortly after that point. They kind of kept us going. We met.
Yeah.
They were both from New Zealand, but they had never done this hike before, so we kind of befriended them and struggled together. And
yep. Then we got up to the top, and it was there was ice everywhere because it was so high and it was so cold, and so my heart was about to beat out of my chest. So I was super hot going up anyway, so the ice didn't bother me, but it standing there a second, I thought I was about to get frostbite after I cooled down a little bit, and it was muddy, but it was
hard
great.
For you to climb up with Converse on, and solid sheet of ice on this whole track once you got to the last half mile or so.
Yeah.
And so it was like basically hands and knees crawling because
I'm walking on pins and needles because I'm slipping everywhere. Just not good. But the view up top was
worth
crazy.
It.
Yep, incredible.
It was awesome.
Cool. And that was that. So then after that, we went to Queenstown, which was our favorite town in New Zealand. very touristy.
As far as like the atmosphere.
Ski. Yeah, the atmosphere was great. We ate. There's a place called Ferg down there, and apparently it's the best burger in the world. So, in order, it was good. Best in the world, whatever. That's your own opinion, but in order to get the burger before there was a line, we had to eat there at about 8:39 a.m. because other than that, the line is absolutely out the door all the way down the street. And after we ate that, we went and got ice cream at about 10 a.m. too. So our eating in New Zealand was fantastic, but not healthy for the most part. For me, at least. Yeah, I did not eat a single healthy thing that entire month. Which,
I get sick of that stuff, so I definitely started getting some good
She had to get some salads and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then
Milford Sound was another huge highlight, which everyone told us to go there. Everyone told us it'd be beautiful, and it definitely was. To take a little day cruise out into
So it's Milford Sound.
It's not a sound.
It's not a sound. A sound is mountains carved out by water, and these were carved out by glaciers.
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
I think so. Either way, it was awesome.
Yep. Either way, it was just a body of water surrounded by a bunch of mountains, and we took a cruise out there
until we reached the ocean.
Until we reached the ocean and then came back. So
that was pretty cool.
That was awesome. Yep.
Tons of sunrise pictures, tons of sunsets.
The most beautiful sunrises and sunsets you'll see. It was crazy, crazy cool.
Our favorite place. So like our all-time favorite from the whole trip happened to be like the second to last place we went. And it was so exciting that we kept that for last, honestly. It just worked out that way with our travel path. But Mount Cook was our favorite. And it actually started out as like the worst, but then became the best. We had booked a hotel actually for this night. And so when we got in there, this mountain is like kind of in the middle of nowhere. You drive in down this windy road to even get to it. The nearest town is like an hour and a half away. And we pull in and there's like 3 hotels total. And this one hotel is the one we got because it was just like the most, I don't know, the biggest. I don't know why we chose it, honestly. Clearly we didn't do our research well enough. But we get into the room and it is just disgusting. And like I know and I realize that I can be particular about some of that. But even Cole, I knew it was bad when Cole was like, yeah, I don't think I can stay here. Because you don't have super high standards for that.
I don't have high standards, but the part that really pissed me off was you had to pay for internet, $5, which I'm like, all right, great, $5 internet, that's fine. You had to pay per device per day. So I was like, okay, $5, we'll all share this access code, we'll all get internet on your phone, computer, whatever. I'm like, fine. But then I had it on my phone, and then I tried to get it on my computer, and I had to pay another $5, and then she would have to pay $5 for her phone and her computer. And I'm like, yeah, that's the last straw. You're charging me this much a night, and then you're also going to charge me internet. On top of a room with mold in the shower, torn up carpet, stuff like that. It was pretty janky.
So janky.
Yeah.
So we tried to escape that.
So unfortunately, they wouldn't give us our money back.
No.
So
we swallowed it.
We swallowed it and stayed at a different place, which was the best place we've stayed at in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was like a little motel that you would never expect, and it was completely redone on the inside. Like I would truly have. It's bigger than our apartment now.
Yeah. Jacuzzi bathtub.
I would have lived in that place.
Floors. Yeah.
Yeah, heated bathroom floors.
A nice little kitchen area. Yeah.
It was awesome. So, and not to mention Mount Cook, the hikes around there were just absolutely amazing. Yeah, some of my favorite.
Yep, the drive up to Mount Cook is pretty breathtaking. It's a straight road for about 45 minutes to an hour, just going straight up to those little places and the mountain too. And then we were able to stop by another glacier over there, and there was this lake, and you could see all the glacier deposits that were being broken off, and they were just sitting in the lake, and it was really sweet to see.
It was cool.
these big ice chunks in the lake, and we got some sweet photos there too. So
Yeah.
that was both of our favorite spots. And I had heard a lot about that place, and so that was the place I was looking forward to most, and it didn't disappoint for both of us. So
Yeah. So definitely, we both had the same kind of favorite place. We were talking about that, and Mount Cook was it for sure.
Yep, definitely. So our biggest challenge. Let's go through our biggest challenge through through our vacation, and I've already shared mine earlier. My biggest challenge was losing the drone on a mountain and just trying to have a positive attitude about that. What's really cool about that, and this is just an example of why we're doing what we're doing financial wise, is that there was really no stress about having to buy another drone because we have an emergency fund put in place, and we were able to use that to get that without going into debt at all. For that, it was obviously ended up going over our budget because it was quite an expense, but there was no worry about it. There was no oh my gosh, we're going to be in trouble, we're going to have to make payments when we get back, thing like that. And so that was good. It kind of sucked that we lost it, and I just had a bad attitude from there, but got back up, and it didn't kill us. So that was good. That was good news.
My biggest challenge, I would say, was just adjusting, I guess, to being that far from home. Like, we both love our families. I love people, like being around people. And when you get to a country like that, there definitely, in most areas, are not a lot of people, and you are kind of isolated in some ways. And I just didn't feel like New Zealand's a very safe country, like probably safer than walking down any street in the United States. But
yeah,
I don't know. You're just not at home, so you're not in your comfort zone, which was really good for me. There was one night where I think this really freaked me out, and then from here I kind of turned around. But we were sitting in the hot tub at one of our campsites, and so it's dark out. It's like midnight, isn't it? No, it was like 9.
It was like it felt like midnight, but
it was like 9, and we're like all alone. No one's outside. The campsite workers have gone home, and this like huge siren starts going off. Like, not like a tornado siren.
It was like a natural disaster.
It was a natural disaster siren,
like.
Or like,
and we're like,
oh, I don't even know, anything bad that can pop into your head that they're trying to signal the entire country or the entire like area of a country invasion. I don't know. I had so many things going through my head. I know that seems dramatic, but it was
so dramatic.
It was a little dramatic, but it freaked me out. It was a loud siren.
It was loud, but it did sound like, I don't know, like a tsunami siren or something like that. But we knew there wasn't a hurricane down there or anything like that, and then it went off, it shut off fairly quickly, and we're like, okay. I mean, I was like, yeah, probably a test or something like that, but could not get over that.
Well, I did some research. I couldn't find anything online, and it's like, where do you even go? Where do you look online for a news channel in New Zealand? Like, I don't know. It was obviously fine. We're okay. But
yeah,
that was my biggest challenge.
Yeah, and your other biggest challenge was trying to put up with my New Zealand accent.
Oh, yeah.
The first week of the trip, and then she got so tired that she yelled at me, and I couldn't do it anymore.
That's true. He tried to adapt the New Zealand accent, but did it in a pretty poor way. And that just gets kind of old after a while.
Yeah, I guess
it's like one of those things that is funny for a little bit, and then it's just annoying. That's kind of what it was like.
I thought it was really funny. So after the trip, I came home with about 15,000 pictures, which is unreal to me. And if you follow me on any sort of social media, I've been posting some of my favorites. Lately, again, I've fallen behind on that, but I'll try and get some more out there. But I have so much to go through, and it's so fun for me to relive all those experiences and all the rope bridges we walk across and glaciers, and mountains we climbed and things like that. So that was sweet for me.
Mm-hmm. And to just kind of wrap everything up, I was keeping a journal throughout the trip. So like each night or every other night or something like that, I would just write down some of the highlights of the day. Where did we eat? Where did we go? Things like that, so that we could remember that, and maybe down the road pair my journal entries with his pictures and make some sort of like book and memory collage out of it. So hopefully once life gets a little less crazy, if that exists, we will put that together. So we'll be excited to share that.
Yeah. So to recap, would we do it again? Absolutely. We will definitely find ourselves there again. There was a lot of places that we didn't, as far as touristy places go, like Hobbiton and all those places that we weren't able to hit on our way down, that would probably go back and do again. Just an incredible place.
There's just so much to experience. You
Yeah.
can't possibly do it in 3 weeks. And we would like to maybe find a time to go back in the New Zealand summer just to see what it's like during that season as well.
Yep. And then so quick to talk about kind of budget wise. We had a certain budget that we definitely went over, and that was a decision that we made together as far as consciously, as far as, well, one, we didn't make the decision to lose a drone, but again, we weren't pressed for that. We weren't in debt for that, and we were able to take that out of our emergency fund and then just quickly refill that. And then we wanted to spend some time in Airbnbs and maybe eat some better food later in the trip. And we both put an extra amount from our next month towards our New Zealand trip, and it was something that we budgeted for. So we went over our budget, but it wasn't that big of a deal at all. And so it was...
Yeah, the thing is, it was like planned to go over.
It was planned to go over.
Not when we left, not when we were saving, but when we were down there. And I think this was kind of a God thing too. Like we had prepared and saved what we thought the trip would cost, and we had built up some of, like what Cole said, our emergency fund before we went. Yeah. And I think God gave us that cushion because he probably knew when we got down there we would make a few decisions that would cause us to spend more than we had originally planned. But we were okay with it. We made that decision together, and we didn't do it out of just throwing our money around.
Right. So what's next in our goals?
Definitely thinking about our next adventure, of course. I don't know if it will not be a 3-week trip next summer. No. Logistically, that's hard to pull off every year when you have other goals in mind. But we will continue to make adventure a priority and traveling a priority when it's us, when we have a family, when whatever stage of life we're in. So we have decided, Cole mentioned this, to start a travel fund as one of our other savings accounts, and just kind of contribute to that little by little when we can, and factoring that into our monthly budget so that we can continue to take these sort of adventures and refresh our minds and experience some of God's beauty beyond where we reside. So
it's one of our top priorities to do, especially at this age and where we're at in our life, and we kind of want to enjoy something like that. So that's how we're going to go about saving for that. And and then from there we'll just talk about our next trip together.
We have a lot on our list, so
but
none of the things on our list were as like, we need to go to New Zealand.
Right.
We felt that way about New Zealand, and we don't feel called to another place quite yet. So
nope. And this was definitely a trip that meant a lot more to us than just being a trip. There was a lot of stuff that is very special to us from the trip. So with that being said, that's all about our trip. That's all the finances that we took through it, the goods, the bads. Gosh, what we experienced going down there. It was the best trip.
If you have any desire to go, like, make it happen. Figure
Yeah.
out a way to
Yep.
prioritize your life and your finances so that you can do it, because it will be worth it. And next time we go, which it will be, it's not going to be like 10 years. We're going to go again. We're both pretty set on that.
Yeah.
Sometime in the somewhat near future.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We might bring a couple buddies along this time.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So.
Alrighty. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks again for joining us, guys. And if you thought this episode added some value to your life, leave a like, share it. It helps us get noticed, I guess. So that's all we ask from you guys. So thanks so much. And we are we'll be back on the weekly schedule for now. So we will see you guys next week. Peace out.